He is clearly a billionaire. He was dumped by his girlfriend who is 15 years younger. He even thought about jumping into the sea out of despair. However, when he looked up to savor the beauty of the sea, he suddenly realized that a towering wave several tens of meters high was rushing towards him. This scene instantly made him give up the idea of taking it lightly. He hurriedly fled. At the same time, Dafu also discovered this terrifying scene. He quickly ordered full speed ahead and turned the rudder. But this is a super luxurious cruise ship with 800 rooms and 13 floors high. It is a super luxury cruise ship with a capacity of over 2,000 passengers. At this moment, the pride of the industrial masterpiece became a hindrance to escape. Meanwhile, the guests in the hall were still waiting to celebrate the new year, unaware that a huge disaster was about to strike. As the sound of the danger alarm rang, the tourists were suddenly pulled out of their joy and plunged into panic and chaos. The continuous screams had already become the prelude to life and death. Since these giant waves are extremely rare on the sea surface, and cannot be predicted at all, if unfortunate enough to encounter them, the chances of survival are very slim. That's why the crew members call it the crazy dog wave. Under the attack of huge waves, this giant cruise ship weighing tens of thousands of tons was completely overturned above the sea level. At this moment, the entire control room was already devoid of human life. However, the better sealed cabins, although not washed by seawater, were still turned into a hell on earth by this sudden disaster. In order to stabilize everyone's emotions, the management personnel stated that while the ship was under attack, they had already sent out a distress signal. Now they just needed to wait quietly for rescue. However, Nielsen didn't believe a word of his nonsense. He knew very well that if he continued to stay inside the cabin, there was only a dead end. The entire hull had already been completely submerged by seawater. It wouldn't be long before the glass, which blocked the seawater, would face collapse under immense pressure. By then, the cabin would be devoid of any humanity. The only hope now was to escape from the turbine outlet at the bottom of the ship. At the same time, several passengers who didn't want to sit and wait took the initiative to stand up. They knew very well that only by taking the initiative would they have a glimmer of hope for survival. In order to find the passage to the engine room, they needed to take the initiative. In order to find the passage to the engine room, old Wong Henry found it immediately. The waiter familiar with the ship's structure, and hired him at a high price to go together. So under the guidance of the waiter, several people quickly found the elevator leading to the engine room. But at the moment they pried open the cabin door, they found that the entire elevator shaft had already been severely damaged. If they were to fall, there would be absolutely no chance of survival. But currently, they can only pass through this elevator. In order to enter the passage leading to the engine room, helplessly, several people had to find a table, and used it to build a makeshift bridge, in order to protect everyone and allow them to pass smoothly. The waiter stayed behind alone to firmly hold the table. But just as he was about to protect the old man and go up, the elevator above suddenly fell. Although old Wong held onto the two people tightly, but under the weight of the two people, old Wong still couldn't pull them up, seeing that both of them were about to lose their lives. At this critical moment of life and death, the old man had no choice but to kick the waiter hard. My heart kicked the waiter hard. And this accident also directly triggered a second explosion in the cabin. Seeing that the fire was about to break through the elevator shaft, at a critical moment, the two of them, Nissen, did their best to close the elevator doors. This finally allowed everyone to escape a disaster, just as a few people continued to search for a way out. Henry, the old king, is on this floor. Luckily, he met his daughter, Ruth, and his future son-in-law, Jack, whom he didn't think highly of, and two other survivors. They found a door that they thought could lead to the upper level, but after opening it, the scene in front of them made their spines chill. There is simply no way out here. They can only climb across a slanted elevator handrail to reach the other side. Everyone is passing through in an orderly manner, but a surviving drunkard rudely tries to cut in line. When the drunkard is halfway up, he unexpectedly has an accident. A huge engine suddenly falls from above and takes the drunkard away directly. Although this scene is extremely satisfying, the fuel in the engine pours down as well, and is instantly ignited upon contact with sparks. The fire blocks the only escape route for the remaining few people. At this moment, John finds a fire hydrant. He grabs a fire hose and jumps into the sea of fire, successfully crossing to the other side underwater. After climbing up, tie the fire water bag to the railing. Encouraged by a few people, Henry, the old king, and his daughter also successfully paddled over. But at this time, the cruise ship began to sink. Cracks appeared in the glass of the hull under the heavy pressure. This made the people waiting for rescue once again plunged into the fear of death. And all of this, it was destined to be a tragic disaster. As the seawater continued to pour into the hold, the situation on Nissan's side became more and more severe. Seeing the turbulent seawater about to engulf the hold, if they can't find an exit again, everyone will be buried here. Just at this moment of life and death, old King Henry quickly found a narrow ventilation opening, although unsure where it would lead. But at this time, they had no other choice. But unexpectedly, this path was not as smooth as they had imagined. Just when they climbed to the exit, the iron mesh above once again blocked everyone's way. Even though the old king tried his best, he still couldn't open it. But the seawater below was getting closer and closer to them. It was about to submerge the entire tunnel. If they couldn't think of a solution again, soon, everyone will drown and die. At this critical moment of life and death, the little boy took the initiative to step forward, because only his hand can pass through the iron wire. Fortunately, the little boy lived up to expectations. They finally succeeded. Due to the advancing seawater behind them, they had no choice but to go ahead. Enter a sealed pressure chamber. Now there is only one way in front of everyone. That is to wait for the water to fill the chamber. The pressure relief valve opens under sufficient pressure. Only then can they escape from here. Although they are not sure if this is feasible. But at this point, they have no other choice. As Nissan opens the valve, soon, a large amount of seawater instantly fills the entire compartment. Unexpectedly, the pressure relief valve did not open passively, seeing that everyone is about to suffocate and die. But at this moment, a miracle finally happened. Everyone was pulled by this tremendous suction force, rushed into the opposite compartment. But it was about to be flooded with seawater. Fortunately, Nissan timely discovered an escape route underwater, although everyone escaped under Nissan's leadership. Unfortunately, the girl following behind got caught by the iron wire, and in the struggle, accidentally hit a sharp object, fainted. Although the old man rescued the girl in time. Unfortunately, in the end, everyone couldn't save him. Just when the few were grieving. A huge ship. But the body sank again noticeably. There is not much time left for them now. Soon, the few arrived at a horrific tunnel, and they also discovered the overall distribution of the cruise ship from here. It can be seen from the map. At this time, they were not far from the invisible danger. Just when they were about to continue on their way, unexpectedly, the road ahead had already been flooded by seawater. And this also meant that the bow of the ship was still underwater at this time. What's even more dangerous is, the ship's body sank noticeably at this time. There was also a strong explosion inside the cabin. A large amount of seawater instantly rushed into the cabin. Fortunately, this explosion instantly brought the bow of the ship to the surface. And the few people also successfully found the entrance to the engine room. But just when the old man opened the cabin door, unexpectedly, the propeller was in reverse. If they wanted to escape from here, they had to get the sailor to turn off the engine switch. The control room is a full 150 meters away from them, although good swimmers can swim across. But there is absolutely no possibility of going back and forth. In a life or death situation, Lao Wang quickly stood up, although he was strongly blocked by his son-in-law. But for the sake of his daughter and son-in-law, at this moment, he had no choice but to take a risk. When he swam to the control room, he discovered that the main switch of the engine had been severely damaged, and the oxygen in his body had reached its limit. Soon, Lao Wang completely lost consciousness due to lack of oxygen. But at the last moment of his life, he still, with his final meaning, pressed the engine's forward switch. And his death also created the last chance of escape for everyone. John discovered after the propeller started spinning. He also understood Henry's meaning. So he asked Jack to find a gas cylinder, to use the gas cylinder to jam the propeller. But the tremendous suction placed the gas cylinder horizontally at the exit. At this moment, seawater kept pouring in. At the critical moment, John risked being sucked in. He used all his strength to push the gas cylinder out. After an explosion, the propeller finally stopped. Everyone quickly climbed onto the thruster. They leapt into the sea. They went through numerous hardships and finally escaped. And this super luxurious cruise ship, the Poseidon, completely in the calm and mysterious Atlantic, forever asleep. Out of over 2,000 people, only the 6 of them survived. After watching it, there are always people comparing this movie to Titanic. This, for a pure disaster film, is unfair. The plot of this film is tight. It doesn't drag on. It has both the darkness of human nature and the greatness of fatherly love. It is a recommended disaster film about survival and escape.